Oh! Man. Who's there?
There's like faces like peeling.
The following footage comes from the camera of Jacob Edris, who thought he was going for his usual solo campout in Oregon. Little did he know that this camping trip would possibly be the last thing he'd ever do.
I can't see a thing outside this night vision. Jesus Christ. I don't know where.
In the harrowing footage, Jacob can be seen trudging his way through the wilderness, saying he's lost and can't see anything in the darkness. But that was just the beginning, because things were about to get a lot weirder in Jacob's world. Walking through an eerie forest in pitch black is one thing, but Jacob discovered something truly heart-stopping. A bizarre tree formation with a white, note-like object. Someone or something had been watching him, and it was only a matter of time before it showed itself. Jacob was never seen again. Only the rangers recovered his camera and belongings. In September 2023, two friends experienced something terrifying on their bow hunting trip in Alberta, Canada. They'd heard strange noises outside their tent, which didn't resemble any animal, so they decided to set up a trail cam and get to the bottom of the mystery. On their second night, the camera started picking up strange things. First, it detected some movement, which was weird because the footage did not suggest a creature had passed through. But then things got a bit more strange. A quick jolt of lightning zoomed across the camera, almost as if a superhuman being was darting around the area. But then, minutes later, the being finally decided to show up. People say it was the fabled Bigfoot, but your guess is as good as mine. In November 2020, outdoor adventurer Dr. Hannah Strait was sleeping in her camper van in the middle of nowhere when something approached the vehicle, opened the door, and trashed everything she'd set up outside.
Door was open and this bin was on the ground. The lid was off. There's food all over the ground. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
She knew she couldn't just spend another night holed up in her van, so she decided to act and be on the lookout, waiting for the bipedal beast to appear again.
Still waiting around. Haven't seen or heard anything. It's getting kind of late. Did you see that thing?
Being in the middle of nowhere makes spotting things in the dark difficult. Luckily, she'd brought night vision trail cameras to record everything, and when she scrubbed through the footage, she found what she'd been looking for.
I don't know what that thing.
The chances of finding a man running like that in the middle of the night were slim, and that was no animal either. She knew her life was in danger.
Anything like that creature before. It's just ripping through the woods. It is terrifying and I need to get out of here right now. I gotta go. This is insane. I gotta shut this.
Witness a nerve-wracking series of events as two friends go camping in the Appalachian Mountains and stumble upon some of the most terrifying things ever recorded on camera. While most of their trek was uneventful, things started to get a little wacky as they explored what seemed like an abandoned settlement. Feral people lived in these destroyed buildings and weren't afraid to let their presence be known.
What did you see? Huh?
Bro, there's a feral person.
What do you mean there's a feral person? What did you see? Where?
The feral people followed them throughout the day, almost as if waiting for the right moment to strike. And at nightfall, they were ready to hunt.
No, there's someone down there. Dude, I saw him? Yeah, I saw somebody.
The men were sprinting, desperately trying to find a safe shelter. But when they thought things were about to calm down, the feral people played their cards again.
Oh my god. We're being shot at. We're being shot at. Oh. What was that?
Ultimately, the sun saved these folks as the feral people had to return to their caves. Purgatory Road is home to some of the strangest phenomena ever, and those who dare to travel deep into its depths often come back as changed human beings. That happened to Chris Baird, who was eager to find a deal with this place.
Talk super loud, just whisper into my device, please.
Another voice.
Chris set up camp and used equipment to lure supernatural creatures and communicate with them. Right when he was getting comfortable with his surroundings, however, he felt an eerie presence. Chris saw a shadow and heard a loud non-human noise, and even without turning, he knew he had to book it out of there, ASAP. And when he got back to his car, it was pretty clear he'd made the right decision.
I need to warn you.
What do you need to warn me about? I'm listening. Please keep talking.
People do all sorts of stuff for clout. This Australian man, for example, thought it'd be a good idea to sleep inside a haunted cave.
To the limit, to stay in this cave as long as I possibly can until something like physically hurts me, touches me, and then I'm crawling out of there. But this is the cave, and
Like most underground caves, this one also seemed like an absolute nightmare for claustrophobic people. The man descended deeper inside, setting up camp and preparing for lunch. But his calm demeanor was about to be disrupted very soon. He used a chain to climb into the cave, but now he could hear the chain swinging violently. What made this especially scary was that there was no wind to move the chain, and he'd come here alone.
Oh, this
Witness an unnerving adventure as two men decide to camp up a mountain during blizzard season. This wasn't an ordinary mountain, though. Skinwalkers haunted it.
That's off now.
After setting camp, the men laid down equipment to capture the mythical creatures. But they heard strange sounds from the distance before they could even sit down and focus on the task.
What's that? Wait, listen. Something just walked up there. I swear on everything, there was something like...
Of course, they wouldn't just sit there and listen to the noise, so it was time to investigate. And what they stumbled upon was nothing short of terrifying. A shadowy creature followed them, and things were getting tenser by the second.
All right, go on. Go on, that's an animal coming close.
If a haunted Skinwalker Mountain wasn't scary enough, then how about the world's most haunted forest? Because these guys also went there to camp, and what they found was nothing short of awe-inspiring.
Something is walking. Hello?
Splitting up to explore a haunted area is never a good idea, but these guys thought that was the quickest way they could cover the forest. Little did they know, this would also kickstart a series of eerie encounters.
I saw a light. I don't know if that's him or not. Okay. I don't think that's him, because that's two lights.
Not only did the man keep seeing lights around him that were not from his friend, but he also saw strange creatures walking in the forest. And yet, that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg of what this place had in store for him.
Dude, turn your light that way.
God.
Oh,
What?
that was God?
That was not him. There's no...
What was that?
The haunted encounters didn't stop even after they'd reunited. In fact, according to their EVP recorder, it wasn't just any supernatural creature, it was God.
They're gonna knock me over.
I'm about to knock some out.
In February 2024, a horror content creator went on a terrifying camping trip with his friend, but he didn't even have to wait until he reached his destination for his first spooky encounter.
That was a person.
After seeing a strange man in the middle of nowhere, these folks were already in for a terrifying trip. And while they were enthused at first, things did start to get a little too weird once they headed into the woods.
There's no face on the... Come here. What? There's no face on the doll. If you guys have any idea what type of doll this is?
Things didn't get better after the creepy doll because they kept hearing strange noises outside, even though they were inside their tent.
I think we might. See this plays out, we might have to leave.
Yeah, like now.
When they peeked outside, they spotted actual footsteps all around their tent, and that was their cue to get out of there ASAP.
A guy.
Okay.
And
no,
that
but like,
must be what you seen, the light.
right.
What we heard, the footsteps.
Yeah.
Like...
Let's switch gears and head away from the forest for a bit, because this solo female traveler's story is just as, if not even more, terrifying than encountering a haunted spirit.
Hi.
So, you have a guy on the mountain up there that is watching you with binoculars.
She'd been doing her laundry alone on a mountain when a man approached her and said someone was watching her with binoculars. Warning a stranger sounds like a good deed, but there was something very off about this interaction.
Because it's nice out here and it's quiet, but if there's somebody watching me, then obviously I don't think I should stay out here at all.
Well, that's fine. That's your choice, dude.
Yeah.
Now at this point, she'd acknowledged his warning and told him she would move, so any average person would leave her to her devices and let her figure it out. But once again, there was something very off about this man.
Do you need anything?
No.
Okay.
He stared at her for 30 seconds while she did her laundry, trying to lure her into unsafe territory by telling her to move to the other side of the mountain. It was time for her to leave. Solo camping trips are not for the faint of heart, especially if they're deep in the jungle, because even if you don't encounter a scary beast, just the sounds are enough to send a shiver down your spine. A woman documented her first solo journey through the forest, and the things she heard were strange enough to make anyone believe in the supernatural. The Pine Barrens has some of the most terrifying haunted activity at night, and if you step inside, you better be prepared for the fright of your life, as this one man did back in February 2024. What seemed like a reasonably uneventful camping trip turned into an absolute nightmare for him when he heard a massive pop outside his tent. Someone was stalking the man and throwing things at his tent. At first, he thought it could have been one of his friends, but when he looked outside, things weren't what he'd imagined. Spending a night in the haunted woods is one thing, but this camper took things to the next level by spending 48 hours alone at Derringwood, the most haunted place in the UK.
There is a lot of noises in these woods. Where's my spoon? It's getting cold. Oh. Get that fire going, I think.
She didn't know the woods were haunted and was just there for a good time. Of course, her carefree attitude wouldn't last very long, especially given what would happen to her.
It's really comfy, thank God, so I should sleep well, I would think. Where's my big bean? What was that noise?
It started with a strange noise that caught her off guard, and even though that could have been nothing, the camper was now paranoid. Besides, if there's one thing we've learned about being in the woods alone, it's that being anxious alone at 2 a.m. always worsens things. Going deep enough into a haunted forest, you'll start seeing some really wacky stuff.
What is that?
That looks weird. Oh.
Trent, the traveller, who lives out of his van in exciting places, thought spending the night in the haunted woods would be a good idea, but boy was he wrong.
I just heard something outside.
He'd already seen a strange recliner, and now he was hearing things outside his van, almost as if someone had been watching him.
I could have sworn I just heard.
If anything, this was his cue to get out of there and save his life. Sometimes you don't have to camp out in the middle of nowhere to have a scary experience.
It's 9 o'clock, so I'm probably just gonna get ready for bed, watch a movie.
This man is stealth camping outside Cornwall in the UK. He's parked on the road, but that doesn't make it any safer. He's about to experience something alarming.
I just heard something outside.
Even though he's parked to the side, and no one should be around, he keeps hearing random knocks on his door, presumably from someone trying to break into the van.
They were either trying to move me on or trying to break into the van. Either way, not pleasant.
Let's face it, having a supernatural experience is scary, but many times, real people coming up to you in the middle of nowhere is arguably even more terrifying.
And I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I my pants.
The man was camping out in the woods when a strange-looking man approached him and asked him for a lighter. Now that's normal if you're out on the street, but things start to get weird when you look deeper into the situation.
You weren't round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
I don't think I was.
The man seemed homeless, and the camper was nice enough to offer him food, but it was what happened after they'd had their fix that really disturbed him.
The fact that he just left without saying out has put the EBGBs up me, because
Burnt Bridge Road in Mississippi is one of the most infamous haunted places in the world. Legend says the ghost of a young girl roams the area, attacking any travelers foolish enough to step foot in it.
Oh, wait, dude. What's that? Was that an earthquake? What was it?
Of course, haunted place extraordinaire CJ Faison had to go there and check it out for himself. However, this place was a bit too much, even for someone like him, and the shaking van was just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, it's not the van.
Right now. I'm getting to my floor, is what I'm doing.
And that's when they knew they had to get out. In September 2021, a couple was camping in the woods in Michigan when they realized they weren't alone in the area. At around 4 a.m., right before the break of dawn, they heard strange noises, unlike anything they'd heard before.
It's weird. I don't think that's a deer. You would hear more than just that.
Now, the possibility of the woods being haunted was scary, but the couple was faced with an even more significant danger: people with guns. Once they heard vehicles and shooting, they knew they had to get out. And it's good that they did, because once they got back, they found out that people were found dead in the same woods.
When we get here, someone had a gun earlier. Yeah, sounded like just casual shooting, but still.
In yet another stealth camping adventure, Sean heads up to the woods, thinking he'd go face to face with a haunted spirit. Little did he know that a haunted spirit would be the least of his problems.
I was just pulled up, and it sounds like they're walking around the van.
A random car had pulled up right in front of his van in the middle of nowhere, and things were getting tense. Sean knew his life could be in danger, yet he decided to look. Luckily, the car drove off as soon as Sean pulled back the curtains. The woods are home to some of the strangest creatures on the planet, and the sounds they make are sometimes even more bizarre. But the thing is, most people don't realize that until they experience it for themselves.
This is awesome. Wow,
A camper's out exploring the forest late at night, constantly exclaiming how incredible the whole experience is. But while his enthusiasm is justified, he's also about to get a reality check very soon.
Oh, hi.
He hears a bone-chilling voice coming from the woods, and it almost sounds like someone saying, "I see you," which makes it all the more terrifying.
Oh, creepy. I need to get out of here. Whew.
Camping in old cabins in the middle of nowhere is all fun and games until unexplainable things happen to you.
I'm gonna shut this off really quick. Hold on, I'm gonna come get the camera.
The camper heard footsteps approaching at night and decided to prepare himself for an encounter. He was not ready for what he was about to witness next.
Who's there? Slow it off.
Someone, or something, visited him, slamming the door once it realized he was inside. And the camper's suspicions were confirmed when he mustered up the courage to peek outside.
Listen. Is that running? It sounds like someone's running away. Who's there?
In October 2022, a man set camp in the woods for a spooky Halloween night. But what started as a fun ghost hunt suddenly became a real and scary experience.
I don't know what the hell was that? What's that? I've come up to that bit where the light was just shining.
While casually looking at the trees, the man spotted a strange light. However, the most unnerving thing about this light was the fact that it was moving. The man was not alone.
What? He's moved. I'm gonna have to go and check that out. Where the hell is it going?
Fearing he was being stalked, the man thought it'd be a good idea to go deeper into the woods and find the source of the light. Newsflash, it could have been a better idea.
That is a person. I'm not even joking. What the f***? I can't see anything.
In July 2020, a man was camping in the woods with his family and having a good time. But it all changed around 4 a.m. when he heard strange, loud noises outside his tent.
Give Mom the phone. No, here, give it to me. I should give it. Yeah, no. They're 2 miles away.
Some drunk people entered the camp in the middle of the night and looked unhappy. In fact, with how loud they were, it seemed like they were out there looking for a fight.
Give them a ride 2 miles here, and they'll be done. Okay? They could hurt you. They're not gonna hurt me, okay? Please don't.
With the man's wife telling him not to go out there because the drunk people could hurt him, things weren't looking good. But he went out there regardless.
Not trying to fight, but I have a lantern. Would it help if I bring some light and just help you get this thing started? At which point they finally backed off. The tension started.
Not all people go camping for ghost hunting. Some genuinely love nature. And sometimes the views can be stunning too. This man, for instance, is camped out in the Peak District, one of the most beautiful places you could visit.
It's clear, it's cold, it's dry.
Just because he's not deep in some haunted woods doesn't mean things can't get weird. In fact, in the middle of the night, he experiences something incredibly bizarre.
I don't know if you heard that.
Of course, animals always make strange sounds, but this one's different. It's guttural, and doesn't sound like any animal you'd find in the wild, which makes it all the more terrifying.
Did you hear that? That's quite eerie.
Camping in a terrifying forest with many urban myths is fun and games until the rumoured strange things start happening.
No, I know, I'm just checking this area.
Oh, Ben! Oh, go to shock, go to shock!
The campers went out hoping to film some fun haunted footage, but their mood quickly soured when they spotted shadowy figures behind trees. However, that was just the beginning of their harrowing adventure.
Oh my god, its eyes. There's like faces like peeling. Look at that.
As if the shadowy figures or skinwalkers weren't enough to scare the man, he discovered a creepy doll ahead. This was his sign to get out, but a force in the woods didn't want him to leave.
Ah! Okay, I saw that. What was that? I have no clue.
Witness a disconcerting camping encounter. Two men enter an abandoned cabin for the night and experience something strange.
What the was that?
No idea, but that was not a coyote though. That was something else.
No, that was a coyote.
Yeah,
this was not a coyote.
It all kicked off as they heard weird noises coming from the outside, and now, even though it was the middle of the night, they had to go out and investigate.
Who's out here?
After tracing the source of the sound, the campers realized it was coming from deep within the woods, and they had no choice but to abandon the cabin. But here's the thing, they were unprepared for what they were about to find.
I don't know what that is. It's got a light. But you got swimming stuff. You got a big gulp, which when you're swimming, that's the best thing.
The whole area was littered with random creepy items, most of which didn't make sense existing out here in the first place. And as they went ahead, they stumbled upon a camp that someone had made.
Some sort of plastic containers or something.
Old abandoned buildings are always fascinating because they're almost like a time capsule, an image of the past. But there's a reason why places get abandoned in the first place. After all, more often than not, they're not safe.
Window. Look at this staircase out here. There's somebody there.
These folks have been looking at old abandoned buildings and think they're alone until they discover a cell phone light in the distance. It's time to decide whether they want to get closer or risk their lives.
There's somebody out there.
A few minutes later, the cell phone light disappears, meaning whoever it was has probably noticed them and has moved to a different spot, which is unnerving. So the explorers only have one sane option left.
Car. It looked like a cell phone, right? Like a cell phone light.
In February 2024, a man went camping in the woods, hoping to find something strange. That said, he got so much more than he could have ever wished for.
Man, I just heard a... I don't know if I was even all the way asleep or what, but there was...
As he was curled up in his camp, the man heard a loud crash outside in the middle of the night. It woke him up, but things got worse before he could react. Someone was throwing stuff at his tent, and he didn't know if it was a person or a creature. Not to mention, the attacks were relentless and kept getting worse as time progressed.
I'm armed.
With the possibility of the people being armed, he knew he couldn't waltz out there and take them on. So he hunkered down, hid, and waited for the right moment to get to safety.
Creatures, whatever that was, I am leaving before they come back. I do not feel safe. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. Yeah, right now, I hear nothing. I'm getting out of here.
It's always tricky to capture weird anomalies in the woods on camera, but what if you took an infrared camera? Well, that's what this camper did. He found incredible things.
Loads of mice and things dotted about. Nothing around there.
For most of the night, all he could spot was a bunch of mice running around and eating stuff. But things got much weirder when the camper stumbled upon a pair of handprints on a tree beside him.
Just put my torch on. That wasn't there 2 seconds ago. I swear that wasn't there.
The scariest thing was that the handprints weren't even there when he'd started filming. And this wasn't the only tree that had them either.
There's a hand mark on there.
If you're willing to go deep into a place like the infamous haunted Pocomoke Forest, you better be prepared to face the trials and tribulations that come with it.
Oh! Oh!
The camper's alone in the forest and is already on edge before he sets camp. But while the sound of a stick snapping is enough to scare him, he's about to run into something more terrifying. Something smashes into his tent out of nowhere while he's using his EVP recorder, and things go eerily quiet afterward. To be fair, while most people would have packed their bags and left after this incident, this camper is different.
And I don't want to freak myself out. I truly want to do this for me. That's why I'm staying here. If I actually felt in danger, I would not be staying here. So,
In January 2024, a man went into the woods for stealth camping, thinking he'd get to relax off the grid and be closer to nature. Little did he know, however, that he was walking into danger.
I don't know if they could see it or not through the tent. I don't think so. I'm leaning right up against the light, but somebody's walking around out there very close to the tent.
Someone was outside his tent, slowly circling it and figuring out if he was inside. Now, at this moment, all he could do was hold his breath, because there was a good chance he was about to be attacked.
Somebody's out there. I don't know if they're coming this way or just walking around out there. I can't tell. Somebody's definitely walking around.
Once the footsteps left, however, the camper mustered up the courage to investigate, which was a big mistake because he was now lost and stalked.
It's about 150 yards away. Hang on. You see that? I see you! I can see you!
Thinking he was brave, the camper started shouting at the person holding a light on the other side. And that, folks, was a decision he'd come to regret.
Oh, it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. All right, let's get the here. I don't know if they're like after me or something, or what the happening.
In June 2018, a man went backpacking in north-central Pennsylvania to record a video. But while everything went pretty smoothly while he was there, things got a little weird when he got home and looked back at the footage.
I think this is. Personally, I think it's a deer, maybe a coyote, but like I said, I was camped in a pretty thick brush on night one.
As he casually talked to the camera at night, it turned out that a smoky white figure passed him without making a single sound. And even though he thinks it could have been an animal, the chances that he wouldn't have noticed that are pretty slim. There's no such thing as a safe camping spot, especially if it's in the woods. Take this man, for example. Despite coming to this spot for almost 4 years, he's about to have a completely different experience this time. Loud, snapping noises engulf the air and put the man's dog on edge as he tries to determine whether it's an animal or someone messing with him. But that's just the beginning of his nightmare camp out, because he's about to hear something even more disturbing. In the deep woods of Arizona, a man hears a woman screaming for help late at night outside his RV. Thinking that someone could be in danger, he grabs his camera and walks toward the scream. But when he gets to the spot, he doesn't find a woman. He finds something else. A man hiding in the trees uses the scream to lure the RV guy out. Luckily, the RV guy spots him before he gets too close, giving him enough time to get back inside the vehicle. That doesn't mean he's safe just yet, though. His worst fear comes true when he hears the gunshot, because it means someone is trying to murder him. A couple of minutes later, his bay door alarm starts ringing. And even though he knows he shouldn't go outside, he opens the door to check. In November 2022, 2 men walked into the haunted Epping Forest for a night. But while they expected some strange things to happen on the trip, the reality caught them off guard.
Oh. What's that?
Something struck their tent while they were enjoying their meal, and now they were on edge, not knowing if an animal or another human was stalking them. Luckily, they'd set up a trail camera that caught a glimpse of the outside.
Something comes into the frame. There was definitely someone there, and it looks like they just take a look what was going on. And as Flex pops his head out to take...
The person who appeared in the frame seemed unbothered, almost as if they knew what they were doing. Their behaviour when the camper popped out was even creepier.
They dart off into the darkness. Now this is quite a scary thought. Trainers.
Hearing sounds you can't identify has to be every camper's worst nightmare, because they can be extremely terrifying and indicate genuine danger. When this camper showed up in the woods, he didn't think he'd be wrestling with sounds that made no sense. However, his night's about to get even worse, as rumbling isn't the only thing he'll hear. He stays up for several minutes, carefully listening to the bizarre sounds that fill the forest's soundscape. However, he's hit with another whiplash-inducing sound when he starts talking to the camera again.
The way that hit.
Speaking of strange sounds, another camper holed up deep in the forest. Unlike the last guy, however, when he hears something weird, he gets up and decides to investigate.
I don't know what that sound is.
Now, one of the sounds he's hearing sounds like an owl, but that's not the only thing he's hearing. The high-pitched sound is what's bothering him. Now, here's a scene that looks like it's been pulled straight out of a campy horror movie, as a bunch of people gather around the fire in the woods and have a good time.
Look at those biscuits you got.
Oh, perfect.
Amazing. Oh.
One friend leaves them for the restroom, but about 20 minutes later, everyone notices she hasn't returned. And that's when they decide to go and check up on her.
It hasn't even been 10 minutes
Devin?
yet, bro.
No. Can a couple of people just come with me just to make sure we're good?
While looking for their friend Alexis, they stumble upon a creepy wooden teepee. But the real scare comes when they decide to take a look inside.
Okay.
Alexis is unconscious, tied to a tree, and whoever owns the teepee has abducted her. So now, it's time to rescue her. Or is it?
Okay.
In February 2023, a metal detecting enthusiast went into the woods to search for buried treasures, and what he found was nothing short of spectacular.
That must be where they slept sometimes.
It looked like he'd stumbled into a ghost town, as all these tents were abandoned in perfect shape. People camping in the area were kicked out for trespassing, so this is a rich treasure territory for prospectors.
Makes me wonder, makes me kind of assume anyway, that this is probably a vet.
Deep in the haunted forest, a camper finds himself trapped in their car, with bizarre things happening all around him as he waits for his friend to return.
Just really worried. No, what the bro? What the Stop!
Whether it was an animal or a person, something was trying to get into his car, and while his scream seemed to have scared it away, the camper wasn't entirely out of danger.
I'm hoping that scared away whatever's out there.
Not knowing what to do, the camper honked the horn for good measure. However, the fear of something just standing outside the car was eating him alive, so he had to get out and take a good look.
I didn't see anyone. While I was hearing that sound, it sounded like someone grabbing the door, and I was trying to hold on to the door in case it wasn't locked.
Witness a genuinely petrifying scene as a solo camper decides to spend the night in a Scottish glen. But, even though he thinks it's a regular camping spot, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Hello? Hello?
At around 3 a.m., the camper was awakened by some bizarre noises coming from outside. And they're not far because they easily break through the roar of the nearby river.
I've got a knife in here.
It sounds like a wild bear, but this man's not convinced. He thinks someone is toying with him, so he gets up and investigates.
Hello? Hello? Jesus Christ. That.
After hearing the strange sound again, he decides this creature's way above his pay grade and calls it a night, although he sleeps while holding his knife, just to be on the safe side.
Like a psycho with a knife. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Let's head to Wisconsin's most haunted campground at Devil's Lake, a Native American land known for sightings of shadowy figures. The man's been walking the trail for a while now, and even though he's seen his fair share of wild animals and bugs, he hasn't stumbled upon a ghost. Well, not until this very moment.
What the hell was that? Yo, I saw movement like right there. Like right there.
Trail cams can sometimes capture some of the creepiest things you could imagine. For instance, here's one place in a haunted forest, and guess what? It captures something extremely terrifying. A shadowy figure seems to be approaching the solo camper's tent, and he's got no idea because he's asleep. But something says that slumber will only last for a while.
That was close. That was really close.
The noise is way too close and causes him to wake up instantly. However, while that's already scary enough, things will worsen for this guy.
Who's out there?
Well, that's his cue to go home.
Thank you for watching the video until the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until the next video.